All right, what's up, boys and girls? Over the Octagon, we're back. Emergency press conference episode, January the 13th. Little late night grinding for the boys here. We're trying to cram one in.
You already know.
Some
Yabba dabba
news.
do, motherfucker.
Some news broke today that Bellator is officially no more. Bellator is dead. There will be no more Bellator events, including the event on January 25th between Nurmagomedov and Hughes, right?
Yep.
The Irish guy for the Bellator lightweight belt. The only thing about that's still Bellator is like the actual belt itself, but everything is now PFL. There is no Bellator anything.
Which
Bellator
is
does not
crazy
exist.
because, first of all, I would have thought the PFL would have never gotten to be bigger than Bellator. But here we are. And somehow they have enough money to acquire Bellator and all of the fighters that came along with it, which is even crazier. But I'm honestly surprised that it's almost a 18-year long running fight organization that produce, I would say, a decent amount of great fighters. Like, definitely more than just a handful. It's going to be hard to look back on the PFL and go before this and go, yeah, you remember all of those great PFL champions? Like, you're not
Right.
going to be able to, but you can look back on Bellator and say that. There's a legitimate argument that there's quite a bit of Bellator champions that were not only just UFC champions or UFC greats, but they're also Bellator greats, vice versa. So
Yeah, man. A
it's
lot of
crazy
those.
that it's here right now and we're saying it's over with,
Yeah. So before we get into it, this news got broke today by Ariel Hawani on his show, right? Reported Monday on the Ariel Hawani show that the Bellator brand is officially dead. It will now be known as the PFL Championship Series, featuring title fights for PFL divisional titles. Right now, I can tell you on Monday, January 13th at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Time, Bellator is dead. Bellator as we know it is no more. Bellator is dead. You will not see Bellator events anymore.
I mean, that's a rough way to put it, dude.
That's
Shit.
hard as fuck, bro.
Yeah. Damn.
So those titles, so PFL Championship Series, so now kind of look at what this means and what it'll look like in the future. Those titles will be separate from PFL's traditional season tournament format.
Yeah,
where
they still
6
doing
divisional champions are crowned throughout 4 fights in one calendar year. Well, yes, but do you remember like a week ago they came out and they
cut the
said
$1
that
million, right? Yeah,
they
that's
cut
what I
the
was just about to
prize money
ask.
in half. So the prize money for winning the PFL tournament was $1 million.
$500,000 now, right?
Now it's $500K.
Yeah,
Which is still a lot of money, but it's not doesn't quite hit the same.
No,
right?
It's a lot of fighting, man.
As $1 million. Yeah. So those titles will be separate from the tournament. So what seems to be the general consensus of what people believe is going to happen is that PFL's championship series will be like kind of how the UFC is. So you have normal divisional fights and divisional belts, and then you still have this tournament, and the tournament is really going to be like a prospects. That's going to be more of like a Dana White Contender Series thing to where prospects fight in this tournament, and then your big names are going to be your divisional champions.
So, do those divisional champions is that who they fight or something at the end of it, or like how do you make that? Why would you give prospects a chance to win $500,000? Like, not even there's fighters in the UFC that aren't even winning $500,000.
Sure. So those titles will be separate from PFL. So the PFL Championship Series is separate from their division, their tournament format.
That's going to get really fucking weird.
I like it.
It's not going to work.
It's not, because it's like
it's going to fail, dude.
Fuck yeah. It never fails, bro. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how that could work, because think about it. It's like Francis Ngannou versus that other guy. They had to make like a super fight for that. But like those two guys didn't fight for the heavyweight $1 million prize.
No.
So it's like,
so they go on to say whether or not a PFL tournament win guarantees a title shot against these new PFL champions is unknown at the time of this writing. How these new separate PFL champions will be crowned is also unknown. PFL Europe aren't affected by any of these changes.
yeah, because who gives a fuck about that?
PFL's first event of the year will presumably see the final Bellator title fight in MMA history on January 25th. Reigning lightweight champion Usman Nurmagomedov will defend his title against Paul Hughes in Dubai on what's currently titled Road to Dubai Champions Series.
Oh shit!
So see how this is what they, I guess, pieces are getting put together now. Like Don Davis, the guy who owns PFL, has like basically been tweeting over the last few weeks and not mentioning Bellator ever. Everything is PFL, 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 PFL. And, and then like even if you look at the graphic for this fight on January 25th, like nothing says Bellator except for the belt that's in the picture. And then it just says Bellator lightweight title. But like everything else, like there's no Bellator logo on it. There's no there's no mention of the name really anywhere. So it seems like this has been kind of out in the open for a while and nobody's really noticed it. And now like it's been confirmed, all the pieces are put together and Bellator's just fucking dead, buddy.
R.I.P. bro.
R.I.P. man. I mean, it's still crazy to think that Bellator came over to the PFL. They did that PFL versus Bellator and Bellator swept the floor with the PFL.
Oh, hell yeah,
right.
Dude.
And yet somehow the PFL just gains ownership and takes the name away. It's like
PFL buys them. Is that a marketing? So what do you think these like PFL and Bellator specifically, like what do you think they do that pales in comparison to the UFC? I mean, how does the UFC continuously dominate this industry?
Oh man. Because the UFC doesn't do too much. Everything in the UFC is simplified, and that's how it works, dude. If you start doing too much, like there shouldn't be fucking PFL Africa, PFL Europe, PFL America, PFL Road to this, PFL Super Heavyweight Champions. Like that's why boxing's failing because there's too many fucking belts. There's too much shit going on. UFC, there's one champion, one belt, one weight class. Down the list. Yeah. That's why it works because it's too complicated to keep up with. There's too many fucking fighters already, so it's like that's why it works.
True. Yeah, you can't.
And that's why no one will ever do it. And that's why ONE FC can't do it because they're the same way. They got all these other fucking things going on: kickboxing
Muay
champions, Muay Thai champions, jiu-jitsu champions. It's like that's why the UFC dominates because they're simple.
That's so true, man.
It's true.
It is. Dude.
No, that might be perfect.
That might be the reason why.
Think about UFC fans. I'm dead serious. Like, think about UFC fans. You really think we want an overcomplicated fucking thing? No, dude.
No, that's what I was laughing at. I was like, I don't want that.
Like, dude, I don't want to keep up with all that shit. I already had to keep up with the UFC, much less I want to keep up with all this other shit. Dude, no, keep it simple.
I do think too. Like, I do think it could be a little. I think you're right 100%. I do think there's some more that goes into it, like the marketing side of it.
Sure.
Like, truthfully, if you're not a hardcore MMA fan, has any casual MMA fan heard about Paul Hughes and Usman Nurmagomedov, you think? Maybe once?
Maybe Usman, but
Usman, not Paul Hughes.
No, not the
Definitely
fighters. Not the fighters. Not even the fighters themselves. The event.
Oh no! That's hard, dude.
I've seen it posted once. Like I've seen it online once, and I'm fucking chronically online talking about MMA, bro. And I've seen it like
they definitely have not promoted this at all.
Bellator has needed help for a long time, and that's why this makes sense. Like they've been around too long for not them to be like better than they are, man. They had stars at one point, man. They were producing stars at one point. This is overdue. So I guess
you know how I'm going to give you an example of how doing too much fails in martial arts and fighting. How many people can hold their hand up today and seen that Tyson Fury retired from boxing?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time.
I did not see that.
Retired from boxing today. Who fucking cares, right?
Yeah,
because nobody's talking about it. You would think that a name like that,
I do agree with this.
Would beat headlined martial arts, headline fighting news, but it doesn't because boxing is a joke.
It's not a
Yeah.
joke, Joel, but I
It's a
feel you.
joke.
Well, so Tyson Fury retires, then they announce Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo Alvarez. Yeah. I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, I totally agree. The recipe the UFC has is perfect.
Flawless.
it's
Like-
perfect. It's flawless. And that's why they'll
Like
never
you
lose.
have big pay-per-view events, right? And then anything beyond that is just a fight night. And a fight night is obviously watched by more serious fans, more hardcore fans, people that are more into it, but there's still good ranked fights that could even draw in a casual fan,
Sure.
right? Like names that they know, like you have, like the Mackenzie Dern fight we just saw. Like there's people that aren't diehard UFC fans that know who some of these people are, and then they go, "Oh, she's fighting tonight. I'm gonna watch that."
Yep.
You
And
know?
then they watch that and seen, oh shit, that was a good fight night.
That
I need
was
to
good.
watch that again.
And then you have like, your even deeper level of stuff, like your Contender Series and your Ultimate Fighter and those kinds of things. But it's a very like almost tiered system that makes perfect sense, right?
Yep.
Like the deeper you want to go, you can go. But at
But
the
you don't have to go there.
you don't have to. You can watch just pay-per-view of numbered UFC events
Just
and
as
have
involved.
and have a very clear understanding of the status of the divisions and what's going on and the storylines and like everything involved. They do a very good job of marketing their fighters, of making things clear what the events are, and that to me, like the marketing side of it is where I feel like PFL has always failed. Bellator's always failed. Like PFL's nobody at their events, dude. Nobody.
We were there. We know.
Oh,
Dakota Deeva, who's I still think that she could make noise in the UFC. I do. I think she's really fucking
She
good.
will likely end up there.
But dude, she's winning $1 million in front of 11 people.
Not anymore.
Right. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Anyway, I mean, that's the news.
Might not be getting those opportunities anymore.
Which will be interesting. You'll have to see how many of these guys, what they do. You know what I mean? Do they jump ship, go other places, go like does the UFC somehow grab some of them? I don't know.
I hope that would be the most logical thing, especially with that the Russian guy that we just talked about.
Usman.
I think that would be the best thing to do. There's still some old talent in there as well.
Hear me out. Islam beats Arman Saturday. Islam moves up to welterweight. Usman comes to UFC. And now you're just going to have like Nurmagomedov champions at every weight class.
God, I would stop watching the UFC. At that point, I would literally might stop watching the UFC. Dude, I don't know if I could take
God.
Anyway, I don't want to talk too much more about PFL Bellator. Let's just end this here.
Rest in peace,
Deuces.
Bellator, though. You know, shout out to a few veteran or a few people in that. Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
Eddie Alvarez was there.
Michael Venom Page.
MVP was there. There's a couple of people that came there. Even like Kimbo fought in Bellator a little bit. Rampage.
Dude, so many people fought in Bellator. Yeah.
Shamrock fought in Bellator.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan Bader.
Chael Sonnen. Bader.
All the ex-UFC champions that John Jones cleaned
Fabricio,
out at least had one stunt in Bellator.
That's true.
Every single
Rampage
one that John Jones
ended up
cleaned
fighting in Bellator. Chael Sonnen.
Yeah. Everyone that got scared of John dipped to Bellator.
They lost to John Jones, then went to Bellator.
Yeah. Wild fact
damn,
right
boys.
there.
All right. Well, let's end this. Breaking news. If you're not already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, like the video, say a prayer for Bellator. It is dead officially. This is its funeral. Peace out.
R.I.P. Daddy.